That said, I do like Starbucks. Single shot latte, lovely. Sugar-free, please. It's time now for Mark Meets, in which I speak to the biggest names in the world of politics, showbiz, sport, business and beyond. Tonight, I'm delighted to welcome the author and award-winning charity CEO Zoe Clark-Coates. After tragically losing 5 babies, Zoe decided to use her 20 years of experience in the business and charity sector, plus her counselling qualifications, to help support anyone who suffers baby loss. She's also written 4 books: Saying Goodbye, The Baby Loss Guide, Beyond Goodbye and Pregnancy After Loss. She's one of the UK's top experts in grief and a remarkable lady who was awarded an MBE for services to the baby loss community and improvement of bereavement care. Zoe Clark-Coates, welcome to GBNews.
Thank you for having me on.
Can you tell me about the unique pain of baby loss?
Yeah, it is quite unique, and I think that's because it's so misunderstood and often not talked about. For many people, they go through baby loss in private, in their home setting. And so if people don't know you're pregnant in the first place, it's really hard to tell people you've lost. And so many people suffer in silence.
Well, indeed. And the issue is with miscarriage, for example, that we just don't talk about it very much, and yet it's extraordinarily common.
It is. Around 1 in 4 people will go through the loss of a baby, which is a huge statistic. But yet we don't talk about it. But we're not really comfortable talking about loss at all here in the UK. We're just not comfortable talking about death.
Yeah, I mean, is there an element to which women are sort of gaslit in relation to baby loss, that it's a case of, you know what, stiff upper lip, get on with it?
I think it is. I think it really is. And I think that's often because it's been treated as a medical incident and something that you can just get over and in time you'll just feel better again, when actually you're completely changed after going through any sort of baby loss. It does change you forever, and you don't want to get back to who you were. You're a new person on the other side of loss. And so we do need to get better at talking about it.
So tell me your story.
Yeah, so we have lost 5 babies, which I know you've already stated. We lost 3 babies before we had our first daughter, who got to stay, and then we lost another 2 children after that. And it was through that we realised how people don't talk about loss, people don't talk about baby loss, and the fact that so many people were feeling what we did, which was that we were all alone, that nobody understood, nobody got it, and it was a taboo subject that we needed to keep private.
Tell me about the first time it happened, because this is the first time you conceived, and just the assumption is that's it, we've got the positive pregnancy test, and you know, you don't really take miscarriage or baby loss into account, do you? You just assume, you know, it's going to be a bumpy ride and it's going to be a long 9 months, but you expect a baby at the end of it.
You absolutely do, and I think that goes down to the education as well. We're just not taught about loss in school, so we think that once we've made a decision to have a baby, that baby is going to get to stay. We certainly aren't prepared to say goodbye to them. So our first loss, as you say, was we went into it innocently, expecting everything to be okay. And
very excited and very happy.
Very excited. And tragically, we lost that first baby. And we hadn't told anybody we were expecting.
Was it pre the 3-month
It was pre the 3-month period. And I guess we just thought, we've gone through it, but it won't happen again. So it was the second loss that really threw our world into turmoil, because once we journeyed through it yet again, it wasn't a one-off incident. Here we were defeating the stats that it might happen once, but actually it shouldn't happen again. And here it was happening all over again a second time. And it was then that I thought, I don't even know if we can carry on trying. How can we go through this heartache and this grief and pain another time? We did try again and tragically lost that 3rd baby. And after that, I was very much, I don't think we can do it again. I just don't think we can try again. Thankfully, this decision was almost taken out of my hands, because then when I found out I was pregnant again, and that baby got to stay, which was just so wonderful. And I'm just so glad that we didn't stick with that decision of never trying again.
What is the process of mourning a miscarriage? A lost baby?
Well, for everybody, it's very different. Every loss is so unique. For us, every loss was very different. Loss before having children that we got to raise was different to losing children after we'd had our daughter. We were very aware of what we'd lost, and we were grieving for our daughter's siblings that we lost as well. Yeah. So every loss was very different, but each of it was lonely, heartbreaking. It felt like it was the end of the world, and it felt like we would never, ever experience joy again. I'm very glad that we did. But in those darkest times, you really do feel very hopeless and like nothing will get you through it.
And with miscarriage, there isn't, I mean, all grief is just several, any number of shades of tragic. Yeah. But with miscarriage, you don't have the normal closure, the process of saying goodbye to somebody, which would be perhaps, an older person that's poorly and you know that the writing's on the wall, or you have a funeral and then you have a cemetery that you can visit or you can pay your respects. You don't get any of that with a miscarriage.
Well, for some you do, especially if it's a later loss, and then you do maybe have a funeral and a place to visit. But actually it is, as you say, very different to another family member loss, because no one else in the family has memories of that person. The memories are between you and your partner and that child.
So actually that's interesting. So is there a sort of a stage at which, if there's been a miscarriage during the 9-month term, is there a stage at which you can have a funeral?
You can at any point.
Right.
So it's down to the family. But often people are made to feel almost silly for having a funeral for an earlier baby loss. But actually, it's totally personal and down to people's own decisions of whether they want that or they feel they'll benefit it. However, because most people are in this horrible valley of grief, often you don't even think about those decisions at the time. You're just sort of functioning on auto drive. So what you may feel you would benefit from, you're not in the best place to make those decisions often.
Have you reflected on how it impacts the father? Because, I mean, clearly it's a physical and mental, emotional trauma for mum, above and beyond anything else. But it impacts Dad as well, doesn't it?
It does. It impacts the whole family. So the partner, siblings, grandparents, everybody can be deeply affected.
And Dad's probably told, get on with it, mate. It's not you that's happened to.
Absolutely. And a big part of our work as a charity with Saying Goodbye and my government work is very much saying partners matter, that they shouldn't be forgotten. They're part of the process. They're grieving for their baby, their child too. And so we need to be offering support to both parties. And there's a scary stat that's around 70% of relationships break down after losing a baby. So it's one of the number one reasons.
That's a double tragedy, isn't it?
A double tragedy. And it's that first domino goes down. And then often so many other factors in a person's life is so affected after.
It would be ridiculous to feel guilty that the child you were carrying has passed away. But I would have thought that guilt comes into it.
It does, because often society makes you feel like you're responsible.
Oh, I did something wrong, I went jogging, or I ate a hamburger, or God knows what. I watched EastEnders.
Yeah, and while research is great and absolutely needed, and we need more of it, as soon as you see a headline saying this could prevent more loss, you're thinking, well, did I do that? So could have I played a part in saving my baby's life? So around every corner, there's
and we don't want to go there, do we? You do not want to go to victim shaming when it comes to miscarriage.
Certainly don't, but people do, and people often, as you say, blame themselves, even though they're very rarely responsible.
And also, it's human nature to seek a reason. It's like, oh, yeah, well, do you remember when this happened or that happened, or you went to the fireworks, or God knows what? And I think perhaps maybe we shouldn't try to rationalise these things. It happened, and you just try to move on or recover from it.
I think it's part of society, again, that we try to find reasons for everything. And that's part of our way of feeling in control. If we can find a reason for it, maybe we can prevent it next time. So it's natural to want to find a reason. But as you say, often there isn't. But there's so many platitudes around grief and baby loss, like it's happened once, it probably won't happen again, or they're in a better place now. And all of these common sayings actually compound people's grief, and they fear talking about it in case people make them feel worse.
Yeah, for sure. Look, Biggins tells me that your two girls are amazing, and he'd know. And so congratulations, and your husband's outside as well. You've come through from the Cotswolds. You're an amazing person. You're an MBE. That must have been a great, great honour to receive that.
It was an absolutely huge honour. I think you go into this work to change things for people. You don't expect any sort of recognition. So to have your work acknowledged is a beautiful thing, yeah.
What would you say to anyone that's going through the tragedy of miscarriage as we speak?
I'd say talk about it. Whatever those around you say, keep talking about it. Know that the support, the fact that you feel all alone right now, you don't need to feel that way because there's others who have gone through it. So just ask for support and it's available.
You're a best-selling author as well, charity CEO. What's the charity called?
It's called Saying Goodbye, part of the Mariposa Trust. Yeah.
Brilliant, and that's the same name as your book, Saying Goodbye. Which I believe we've got a screenshot of. We've also got the Baby Loss Guide, Beyond Goodbye, and your most recent Pregnancy After Loss. Have you got another book in you?
I have. My next book is a children's book to help children through grief.
Oh, that's wonderful. Well, you're an amazing lady, an amazing mum as well, and what a privilege to have you on the show.
Thank you.
My sincere thanks to the remarkable Zoe Clark-Coates MBE. Don't forget the MBE. If I was an MBE, I'd be telling everyone I'd probably have a tattoo made. Lots more to